Captain Umar is a very ready hand, so he's here with us as well. He's been following all of the developments as it was turning out. Captain Umar, good morning. Thank you for joining us today on the program. So you've definitely been following this for a while now. And when you, the stories and narratives before the meeting and then the outcome of the meeting, what kind of picture did you get from all of this?
First of all, good morning. And what we saw happen in Oyo State and other parts of the country is not surprising. They were just waiting to happen. If you recall, in this studio, sometime 2014, when the Agatus of Benue State took the heat from the same threat types, I said something specifically that MACBAN was struggling to own a problem that was not theirs. We also saw at that point the ethnicization of criminal elements. Ethnicization of criminal elements in the sense that crime is crime. It has no religion, it has no region, it has no party. It's a crime regardless. Anyone can commit a crime. We decided to, first of all, brand that crime. And having branded it, MACBAN fell for that silly bait and owned the crime. Now they've gotten themselves boxed in, regretfully. Let me explain what I mean by branding. If you recall when COVID-19 started, it started somewhere in Wuhan, in China. The first thing the World Health Organization and the UN did was to unbrand the virus. Because if they didn't do that, in fact, the Chinese started taking the heat, actually. They were being segregated, they were being discriminated against. And at a point, efforts were made to ensure that, look, it's not about Wuhan and China, it's about a virus. We went that sorry way of, rather than looking at the crime, we were looking at the people or the region or the religion, and the umbrella body, MACBAN, did not help matters because they kept seeming to try to own the problem. Now we're here. We've had a meeting. We've had is it a communique now or a press release? Profiling the trends in Nigeria, I say well done. Meeting, press release. Beyond that ceremony, it is still up to the umbrella body now to toe the line and lead the initiative. It's not about going to sit down with all the dainty fellows saying very wonderful things. Then that miscreant, that rascal in the forest will still do something tomorrow that will set the whole process back. Those people that are killing and raping and maiming, they have no reckoning or respect for constituted authority or law enforcement, and we will deal with them decisively. Lastly, we must understand that Nigeria is for all of us, but it comes with a responsibility. You cannot go where you wish to reside and decide not to respect the norms and values of the people you met there. You can't do that. Across this country, we've had issues because that's what people tend to want to do. It's not done anywhere. Much as we are allowed by law to live where we want and reside where we want, you must understand that you didn't carry that place on your head and take it there. You met people there. And the people have a way of life, they have norms, they have values. If it's not okay with you, their values, leave them in peace. Don't go there and try to impose your outlandish ways on people. It's not done. You do that, you become a troublemaker.
Earlier, when you began this conversation, you said that MACBAN was desperately trying to own a crime it wasn't involved in. Just what do you mean, and how do you think they were trying to do that at the time?
You see, crime is to mankind as mankind is to crime. Depending on which society or which country, different acts are considered criminal. There is a level of apprehension amongst we Nigerians when things happen, and that is what mires the course of justice. When we take attention off the act and start looking at the person. So you saw in 2014, I'm seriously dwelling on the Agatu, the Dogona Hawa, those two incidents by these same people, where we left the act and started hollering and haggling about the persona, the people. MACBAN, that happens to be the umbrella body, unfortunately fell for that bait and decided to become protagonists of the Fulani people and thought they were defending that ethnic nationality. Unfortunately, MACBAN now became the face of what you can call the defenders of those gory acts. Today, as I speak to you, the Fulani ethnic nationality has become the face of anything those rascals in the bushes do. Let me tell you something, Makinde. My father is still alive and I am his son. By the laws and rules that guard our families, there is something I can do today and even my father will disown me. So what I'm simply saying here is if MACBAN really wants to be seen, to be serious about not identifying with what is happening and not blacklisting the ethnic nationality to which they belong, they must take a firm position and stamp their foot about these renegade and rogue herdsmen who are hell-bent on blacklisting the Fulani nationality.
Well, the angle that you talked about them, owning this thing, is getting a little clearer now. But because, even they, the MACBAN members and all the official or legal cattle herders have always found one way or another to condemn the criminality or criminal acts of some of the people that have been blacklisted accordingly. But what kind of action, and we hope to speak with them this morning, we're making effort to do that, but what kind of action would you expect from them specifically, seeing that they have members all over the nation, and every time people talk about these things, they talk about Fulani herdsmen, not members of MACBAN. So perhaps it is their trade that they are trying to protect, and not just, because anything that has to do with to do with herdsmen, it would seem like it's their business, and consequently anything that tries to touch their business, they will want to protect. Perhaps that's the perspective that some of them are looking at. What's your take on that?
You're right. But let me tell you something. We have a way of thinking the ceremony solves the problem. We have a way of thinking the pronouncement will do the job in the bushes. MACBAN has met with stakeholders at their level. I can assure you those perpetrating the act are inane and oblivious of what is happening. You may be surprised that right after this meeting, these people will still do damage. Now, what I'm trying to say here is simple. What are the exact things we need to do? Remember, MACBAN is Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of where? Nigeria. So you don't just stroll in with your cattle from God knows where, and because you are within our nation space, you believe you are now a member of Mieti Allah. No, MACBAN will have to streamline that. And one thing I will encourage MACBAN to do is to begin to look at options. Way back 2015, I was in Kaduna State. I attended a program on radio, and I asked a very simple question, which we need to go back to. There are more polo horses in northern Nigeria than there are anywhere else, and horses eat even much more than cattle. Do we graze our polo horses in Zaria, in Kano, in Kaduna? No. So how are they fed? Through the seasons. Do we unleash them on people's farms? No. How are they fed? Today, rural, or rather let me say urbanization and evolution has brought us to a situation where we cannot continue to do things the good old way. So it is up to us to evolve with time and try to see how we can exploit ways. I look forward to seeing that day when Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria will head their cattle with drones. And 50, 70 years from now, our children will be saying it's our culture to head cattle with drones.
I mean, it's quite interesting setting that sort of target. I mean, that might be medium to long term, but you know, there's this present challenge which you have spoken to. You listen to Mr. Bawaya saying they don't feel safe, even though that meeting ended and we had resolutions. And also there's this other side about the fact that there's MACBAN, but you also have Mieti Allah Cattle Hore, who was not a part of that meeting yesterday, but that's another side. But first, to deal with the issue which Mr. Bawaya raised, is the fact that they don't feel safe yet. So clearly it would seem that this meeting did not achieve much, at least from their perspective. So how can we make them feel safe?
Beautiful. There are three perspectives to the meeting. The perspectives of those who held the meeting in their exalted positions, the perspective of the locals, the citizens of the state, and also the perspectives of whom? The miscreants. The miscreants are oblivious and inane to constituted authority. The people feel very insecure, as it were. And the government has done what I've said earlier, made pronouncement, held ceremonies. How do we make them feel safe? There is one low-hanging fruit solution. And before I make that solution known, let me say that there is virtually no state in Nigeria that hasn't taken the hit on this peculiar threat we're talking about. They are all over. The best way we can do it is not to run to the federal government all the time and say, look, do something. We have to micromanage the threat. Micromanaging the threat has to be every single governor's baby. We must let the governors micromanage this threat in their states. And if truly we want to coexist with each other, then where we find ourselves across cultural and religious, divides, then we must learn to respect the values, the norms, and the sensitivities of the socio-cultural environment within which we find ourselves. We must not begin to carry ourselves and try to go and impose ours on others. We are guilty of doing this across all regions of Nigeria. I've been in this country long enough to see even across religious divides, certain people cross to where their religion is alien to others, and then clashes occur. We must learn to respect and accommodate each other. So basically what we are looking at is a situation where if the federal government wants to see some real fast, low-hanging fruit results, they must allow the chief executives to manage the situations in their state, and they can do that effectively.